talked about on the block being responsible for the relay exchange, like not jumping too early, being disqualified. But really, it's the swimmer coming in, their responsibility just as much as the person coming off the block. You got to come in hard so that person can time you.
That was, I think, a really good exchange between Jada and Mary. It looked very fast.
I was talking. I don't know.
And I glanced up right when it happened, but it looked very fast.
So we have in lane 3, Mary Wolbeck is going to be handing off to Maddie Dahlberg. And in lane 5, we have Sarah Wolbeck handing off to Ari Greenwald. Maddie Dahlberg is one of those swimmers, like we just saw her in the 500, and she's so strong. And then she can turn around and do the 50 freestyle and look at that powerful kick. She can, she adjusts her stroke according to the event. And, yeah, she's just a freestyler that you want on your team who seems can do any distance. So Molly Lang is in the pool in lane 3 for the Little Falls, and in lane 5, Grace Clute just hit the pool. Molly did a good job of holding the Ogilvy Mora swimmer off.
Yeah, she did.
I love that. Lane 3 and 4 just turned to each other and shook each other's hands at the end of the race.
In a JV event.
Mm-hmm. And 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 doing the same thing. That was always really important to me as a coach, is that I always wanted swimmers to be, sportsmanship to me was a really important part of swimming. And then I found out later that there's actually coaches that we would swim against that he would teach the swimmers how to be intimidating. Here I'm teaching you guys to shake hands and be friends.
I think we heard of that, and so then the team started like standing in front of mirrors and trying to look intimidating, but it never worked.
We weren't really that team.
No. No. All right, so the next event is the varsity 200-yard freestyle relay. We're lane 3 and 5. In lane 3, we've got Kendra Kuchar, Ella Roche, Leah Josephson, and Hannah Jones. Over in lane 5, we have Abby Noyes, Layla Waltman, Faith Rausch, and Maddie Carper. Again, Maddie Carper just swam the 500.
Yeah, that can be a tough back-to-back.
Yeah.
But you know who I think we talked about last week, Laura Binger, changing my whole concept of how you swim the 500 free. She also changed that concept for me. Like she in for a lot, like our team. It was like nobody wanted to swim the 500 free followed by the 200 freestyle relay. It's like, no, I'm going to be terrible. And she's like, forget that noise. We got 4 minutes to recover. Let's go. And she was a tough, mentally tough chick. So who do we have in the water?
I think Ella Roche
is in lane 3.
And then Layla Waltman over in lane 5. Oh, Leah Josephson will be, oh man, here we go.
Yeah, Josephson's just dove in for lane 3.
Okay.
And then Faith Rausch just dove in for lane 5.
Got it.
Josephson just made up some distance on that start. Turn wasn't quite as good as her start was. She lost a little bit of ground there, but she seems to be coming back a bit. Lane 3, we have Hannah Jones. And then in lane 5, we have Madison Carper. oftentimes how a coach puts a relay together, people often ask, like, where do you put your fastest swimmer and your second fastest swimmer? And there we go. Olivia Mora just took first place, and Hannah Jones came in for the Flyers in second place. And then if you look, there ended up being a race there for third. Maddie Carper came in at third for the Flyers. So usually when you're setting up your relay, most often you put your fastest at anchor. Your second fastest leads off. Then your third fastest is the second spot. And then the third spot is kind of held for the person who has the slower time out of the four. But as coaches, it's kind of fun to mess with other teams sometimes. You'll see people like say, you know what, we're going to stack it and get the front off, like really fast. Get your first two out there as fast as you can. And then it's like one of those like hold on and see if you can hang on as long as you can.
Which is interesting because you've always spoke that third lap is the most important.
Right. And I think that is one of the in the relays it is. And I think what's cool about it is it just shows how important every single swimmer is in that relay. That's when that depth comes in. Like everybody can have two fast sprinters. And to try and get to a third and then a fourth fast sprinter, that is where that depth comes in. And that third spot, it's crucial to have that fourth swimmer be fast as well.
All right, so our next event here is the 100-yard backstroke JV. In lane 2, Abby T. Lander. Lane 3, Barrett Gustafson with the Flyers. Lane 4, Lola Schwinghammer. Lane 5, Sarah Wolbeck with the Flyers. In lane 6, Chloe Rosso.
Okay, so Barrett Gustafson does have listed as backstroke as being one of her best events. She does not have a time listed. The person she looks up to the most is her older sister. I always did too. You had an older brother.
Yep.
How's Jeff doing?
He's good.
I'm wasting time because I can't.
Carry on.
I can't find Sarah Wolbeck's card anywhere.
Look in the W's.
But it's not there.
No?
No.
You've got papers scattered. What about down there?
It's fine. Oh, wait. Which Wolbeck? Sarah.
Ta-da.
Oh, Sarah Wolbeck's favorite quote. You are tougher than you think, faster than you know, better than you will ever realize.
I like that one. For a 7th grader. I just think that's so inspiring at their ages.
You're tougher than you think, faster than you know, better than you will ever realize. Nicely done, Sarah Wolbeck. The section cut for the 100 backstroke is a 118. Now again, for
backstroke?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't really expect to see those section cuts in the JV events, but it's just kind of nice to see how far off they are or how close they are. And if you look, Barrett is only 7 seconds off of the section cut early in the season. So that is the JV 100 backstroke.
All right. So next we have the varsity 100-yard backstroke. Lane 1, Allison Kaler for the Flyers. Lane 2, Allie Sanborn. Lane 3 for the Flyers, Caitlin Gustafson. Lane 4, Jenna Williams. Lane 5, Leah Josephson. And Lane 6, Carissa Schultz.
Leah Josephson?
Yes.
Allison Kaler?
And Caitlin Gustafson.
And Caitlin Gustafson. You can tell I'm looking for my notes again. Caitlin Gustafson, her 100 backstroke, her best time is a 107. Her goal for this year would be to get the 400 freestyle relay back to state, and we talked about that a little bit last week. And they have a good chance of making that happen. Leah Josephson, her 100 backstroke, her best time is a 112. And she is inspired by Caitlin Gustafson and Rachel Reller, which makes sense because they're both backstrokers. Rachel Reller just graduated last year. And, yeah, a good person to look up to. She was a hard worker. Allison Kaler, her best time has been a 1:18. And her quote is never dream for success, but work for it. Did we have that already?
I think so.
I think we did.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So you'll see, like when you have kids, when you watch the 100 freestyle, the 50 freestyle, you'll see kids who are in the event who swim a lot of other strokes too. But really, when you get down to the 100 back and the 100 breast, I don't want to say their specialty, but they kind of are. Like people, that's one of, you'll just hear like people say, I am a backstroker, I am a breaststroker.
And you typically don't find them to be the same.
No. And it's not just because they're close together in the meet either. It's because we talk about the freestyle and the backstrokes being the axis strokes where you're rotating a lot on your sides. And then the butterfly and the breaststroke are more that wave, the dolphin. And so, yeah, a lot of times those don't. Yeah, sometimes the people are one or the other. And then those really good ones can do it all, huh, Julie?
Yeah. This Jenna Williams in lane 4, her backstroke. Pretty impressive.
And look at how calm her head is.
Yep.
You don't see the whipping it back and forth. Very nice. They're actually going to take, Ogilvy Mora is going to take first and second in that event.
All right, so third came in Caitlin Gustafson with a time of 1:11.51.
Oh, she's just 4 seconds off of her best time from last year already. Nicely done.
Lane 5 took fourth place, which is Leah Josephson in 1:14.84.
Wow, just 2 seconds off.
Yeah, in lane 1, fifth place, 1:17.58, which, there you go, she beat her
best already.
Yeah.
10th grader making her best time already this early in the season.
All right, so up next is the 100-yard breaststroke JV. Lane 2, Nora Hoglum. Lane 3, Sarah Kaler for the Flyers. Lane 4, Olivia Sanborn. Lane 5, Ari Greenwald. And lane 6, Liz Marone.
Ariana Greenwald is going to make a liar out of me because she says that her events are like the 50, the sprint, and she's doing the breaststroke. Coach must believe that she's a breaststroker.
We'll find out tonight, huh?
Oh, her favorite, or Ariana's quote, work hard or don't work at all. How true.
Yeah.
I remember talking about that all the time. Like, if you're going to be here, why waste your time? Just go hard. If you're going to be here, just do it.
Right.
I like that. And I am still looking for the other sheet.
Sarah.
So let's look at, because I can see her really well over in lane 6. We kind of consider we talked about last week, kind of like a wave breaststroke where you can see the chest pushing down into the water and then the hips follow and it's kind of rolling almost like the butterfly. And then if you look over in lane 4, it's much more of a flat stroke. Again, not one is better than the other. It just depends on what works for the swimmer. Again, in lane 3, that is Sarah Kaler from Little Falls. And in lane 5 is Ari Greenwald. Here's an example, lane 2. Obviously, again, you usually put your fastest swimmer in lane 4. But sometimes as a coach, if you know your fastest swimmer is going to really not have any competition anyway, sometimes you'll put your second fastest swimmer in lane 4 so they can be right next to 3 and 5 so they can have a better race. That kind of looks like what just probably happened right there.
All right, up next we have the varsity 100-yard breaststroke. In lane 1 for the Flyers is Jada Alholm. Lane 2 is Jen Woods. Lane 3, Hannah Jones for the Flyers. Lane 4, Kaylee Swenson. Lane 5, Abby Noyes for the Flyers. And lane 6, Rita Erickson.
Jada Alholm, she's just a great person. And I just looked at her quote. She's an 8th grader. Had the pleasure of having her in class 2 last year. Her quote, work until your crazy goal becomes your great achievements.
That's awesome.
It's so Jada. It's awesome. Hannah Jones. Oh, Jada Alholm says that her best her best time so far in the 100 breaststroke is a 1:35. So we'll have to take a peek at that. She also is a basketball player. Hannah Jones. Oh, she didn't put her 100 breaststroke time from last week. And honestly, I cannot remember. First section cutoffs for this event is a 1:23. Obviously, breaststroke, if you look at the section cuts, it makes sense that that's the slowest section cutoff time because, in general, breaststroke is obviously the slowest of the 4 strokes, but not the easiest. Never. Sometimes I felt like breaststroke was a time to take a breather, but it turns out that once you learn how to do it correctly, it's just as hard as all the other strokes.
Right.
I think for whatever reason, I think that it's easier to catch yourself doing slow turns in breaststroke and butterfly than freestyle and backstroke, because I think that when you're coming in, because breaststroke and butterfly you have to touch with 2 hands, and so I think it's just natural to kind of come in, you touch the wall, and you'll see swimmers grab it and kind of pull in and take a big breath as they go, and you really have to fight that desire to do that. Hannah did her turns. That second turn, she did a really good job. The third one, not as much so, but look at, she's closing the gap. You can tell, like talking to her parents, I just think that mentally she's gained so much from going to that basic training this summer. I mean, she just has a strong mental attitude that I think will help her a lot in the pool this year.
All right, she finished second with a time of 1:18.85. And then lane 5, Abby Noyes finished 4th, 1:28.46. And over in lane 1, Jade Alholm finished 5th with a time of 1:34.45. And she beat her 1:35 best time that she had listed.
Personal best. PR as an 8th grader, getting 5th. And, and that's what's really hard is she could go to school tomorrow and somebody's like, oh, how'd you do? And you just say, she says, oh, I got 5th place in the 100 breaststroke. And people might be like, how many swimmers? And you say 6 and people aren't impressed by that. But as an 8th grader, placing 5th in a varsity event, that is amazing. And the whole idea, again, the difference between 5th place and 6th place, that's a 2-point swing for your team.
Right.
The difference between 3rd and 4th place is a 2-point swing for your team. So all the way down, to 5th place means just as much.
Right. She should go to school tomorrow and say, I got my personal best.
There you go.
All right, so we've got the JV event, 400-yard freestyle. Lane 3 for the Flyers, Maddie Dahlberg, Mary Woolbeck, Jada Alholm, and Barrett Gustafson. Lane 5, Alicia Holtz, Sarah Woolbeck, and Ari Greenwald, and then Sarah Kaler over in lane 5.
So Maddie Dahlberg is leading it off for the Flyers in lane 3, and Alicia Holtz is in lane 5 for the Flyers. Maddie's kick is so incredibly strong. I think I would like to see her. I mean, she's smooth, and you don't want to change that, but I think I'd like to see a little bit faster turnover for her arms in the sprints, the 50 and the 100. I'd just like to see that turnover a little bit more, and she could drop a lot of time. So that's Maddie Dahlberg in lane 3, Mary Wolbeck is on the blocks for the exchange. And again, we'll have to watch Maddie as she comes in. Again, it's just as much, she needs to finish strong. You don't want to glide in, you want to hit it hard, and she did. There was no gliding in at the end. That's really important to the person on the blocks. In lane 5, you have Alicia Holtz finishing up her first leg, and Sarah Wolbeck is on the blocks to take off. One of the things we talk about in swimming is we talk about swimming long or swimming tall. And if we are looking at Mary Wolbeck in lane 3, one of the things we want to work on, if you look, you want to get that hand stretched out in front of your body as much as you can. And again, we talked about you don't want to have your turnover be so fast that you're going to lose your long stroke, and you want to make sure it's that finding that balance. You want to keep your stroke really long as you're turning over more quickly.
All right, diving in here is Jada Alholm in lane 3. And then over in lane 5, is that Sarah Wolbeck that we have swimming? And our Greenwald up on the block.
If you look at Jada Alholm in lane 3.
I think that was a false start there in lane 5.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Jada definitely has long arms. You can see it in her stroke. She's getting the full extension.
And she just finished swimming the breaststroke. Good for her.
Jada's going to come in and hand off to Barrett Gustafson, is in the anchor position for the Flyers in the 400. You can see as Jada gets a little bit more tired, you can start to see her head starting to bob back and forth. And that's why practice is so important, that you're focusing on those details in practice, because when you get tired, your stroke starts to kind of fall apart a bit. And you can see that at the end, you're tired, and she just has to work on her head not swinging quite as much and just staying in line with her body.
All right, over in lane 5, we have Sarah Kaler up on the block. Coming in is Ari Greenwald.
I love listening to the parents in the stands.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I think back to some of those parents on your teams that were pretty funny, entertaining to watch in the stands.
Brittany Coral's dad.
That's exactly what I was picturing. Mike Coral.
Yes.
Mike Coral, we love you. And I would say, we've talked about, I see him at the hockey arena a lot, and I just look at him and I just shake my head and laugh. But how fun that they got into it that much. You don't think of swimming fans as being very crazy. And
well, when my 70-year-old grandma shows up with purple hair, it's serious.
It's serious stuff.
I think my mom even colored her hair purple one time.
And if you know,
Dad.
I can't pick. Your dad did not.
He did. I think
He
I have
did?
a picture for sections.
Oh my goodness! I'm telling you, it brings out the best in everybody. Swimming does, because they're pretty relaxed, kind of conservative people,
Yeah.
And even Jim dyed. Is Jim right? Isn't your dad's name Jim?
Yeah, it's Jim.
Yes. That he dyed his hair purple.
Absolutely.
That is pretty cool. Now he didn't paint his chest like Mike Coro did, but
Or Steve Cheetah, I think, too. Gosh, they got crazy, didn't
They
they?
did.
Best fans ever.
It's true. It is so true. One of the parents were commenting before the meet. If you look, we have to sit up. Okay, the stands are completely separate from the pool. I mean, there's a big glass partition between us. And as a swimmer, we were talking about, like, as swimmers, a lot of you guys didn't like to swim here because our fans were so loud and so vocal and so involved in the meet that it hurt us to not get that energy from them, whereas other teams, when their parents are pretty quiet, it doesn't affect them as much. But I think that did have an effect.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
Because it can get kind of quiet and weird down there when you can't even hear the fans at all.
Yeah, their swim deck is not overly big here. All right, so we took first and fourth in that event. On to varsity 400-yard freestyle, last event of the evening. We've got one team swimming in this heat in lane 3, Ella Rausch, Maddie Carper, Caitlin Gustafson, and Rachel Josephson.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What was your favorite relay to swim in?
The first one, the IM.
Yeah, I think that's just yeah, I agree. That was always the most fun for me as well.
Yeah.
So Ella Rausch will be, I'm excited to see her swim the 100 free. And to see her leading off so we can get a true time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we've talked about it before, but when you're swimming second, third, or fourth in a relay, your time in general is about a half a second faster because of the relay exchange. So, like, if you're trying to qualify for sections or state, you're second or third. If you're swimming second, third, or fourth, that does not count as a qualifying time because it's a relay exchange. Whereas if you're swimming, and not a lot of people realize that, but if you were leading off the relay and you were to qualify for state in that event, that you could go for that as well.
I didn't know that.
Now, I should clarify that in college, that can happen.
Oh.
So you could see people that would qualify for, like, nationals in the first leg of their 400 freestyle relay. And so that was that made it a lot more exciting. But no, they have not started that. I don't know if they could really. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see that show up at high school level. At least I don't know that it does that yet. Shows how long we've been out of it, Julie.
Oh, gosh.
Long time. All right, so Ella Rausch is coming in for Little Falls, and she'll be handing it off to Maddie Carper. Maddie Carper's had a busy end of the meet.
Oh, shoot. I missed Ella's time.
Oh, we just talked about that, and I
We
did too. I did not look. Ogilvy Mora's second swimmer is catching ours just a little bit. Who do we have coming up? We'll have Caitlin Gustafson is going to be swimming for Little Falls. Maddie Carper will be handing off to Caitlin Gustafson. You know, I haven't looked at the score in a while. Right now, going into this event, Little Falls is 67 and Ogilvy Mora is 99. So, indeed, Ogilvy Mora will win the meet because you can't make up that much time.
And it's just dawning on me that we do have another team in lane 5, even though they're not listed on our program.
Oh, yeah, they aren't on our program. Sorry about lane 5.
Yeah.
We do have swimmers, and they did not show up. Sorry about that.
They did show up. We just don't know their names.
Well, yeah, they didn't show up on our program. Sorry.
Got it. Yeah, you could tell we're nearing the end of the
Yeah.
meet.
A lot more silence. Maybe that's a good thing. So we have Caitlin Gustafson. We'll be handing off to Rachel Josephson. Rachel Josephson has a tough, I mean, she is an amazing anchor, but she's got a tough job to try and close that kind of a gap. Near impossible. I think the only person that I've seen in all of my years of coaching or swimming, I don't know if you will remember the name Sarah Bolson from Sartell.
Yes, I do.
She had a relay exchange at state that I can't even describe it. The amount of distance she made up in just the start alone. We're like, where did she come from? She would be what you call a beast in the water. Again, we wish that we could let you know who is swimming in lane 5, but we just don't know. Lane 3, we have Rachel Josephson will be closing it up for us in the 400 freestyle relay. Ogilvy Mora, 4 minutes, 0.41 seconds. There's always kind of like some cuts that you try and make in swimming, and one of those we talked about, like in the 50 free, is a 29 that you want, or 30 once you break 30 seconds. In the 100 free, it's like when you break 105 or you break a minute. 400 freestyle relay, one of those times is when you can get your relay to break 4 minutes. That's when you're starting to look really good. And so they're getting there. Ogilvy Mora is getting there with a 4:00:41. Little Falls is at a 4:07. And then our other Little Falls team did indeed finish 4th with a 4:43:22. So our last swimmer just touched for Mora Ogilvy. And so that wraps up the meet. We still do not have, I don't have the score for JV for you. From what it looked like, I would say that Little Falls came out victorious on the JV end and came up short for varsity. So we say thank you for watching, and we say thank you to Brainerd for letting us host our home meet since Little Falls Pool is out of service at this point. And got anything to say, Julie?
I'm speechless.
For once in your life. We do have one more, I think in October, there'll be one more swimming meet that is televised. And Julie Carlson Newman and Joel Holy, I believe, the two of them will be carrying the ship because I will be out of town. So we look forward to that. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.